In this video, we're going to break down how to teach a forward walkover. First of all, it would be ideal if the gymnast can do a handstand, a bridge and splits. So Maya's going to show you her ideal splits for a forward walkover. Okay, you've got your back leg nice and tucked under, sitting up nice and straight, keeping your legs nice and straight, toes pointed. If they can do it like this, they're going to find the forward walkover a lot easier when they go to learning it. First step of the forward walkover is a handstand flat back. The reason we do a handstand flat back is to think about going into a handstand, keeping their shoulders nice and open and pushing forwards into their back, ready for when we go into a bridge. So Maya's going to put her hands on the floor. The coach is going to hold their shoulder just to start off with and their legs. From there, they're going to kick off the wall and then push and finish on their back, trying to lift their chin slightly at the start and finish with their hips nice and high. Once the gymnast is confident at doing their handstand flat back onto the mat, they're going to do exactly the same thing, but instead of going onto their back, they're going to go into a bridge. So Maya again is going to go into her handstand from here, and you're going to grab their hips. She's going to kick off the wall and land in her bridge and try and hold for a few seconds. When the gymnast first starts learning this, I'll do it onto a higher surface first, as this makes it easier for the gymnast to learn. Once the gymnast has done their handstand to bridge onto a higher surface, we're then going to move on to the flat mat. So Maya is going to kick into her handstand again. You're going to support it exactly the same way. You're going to grab the gymnast's hips. From there, they're going to go into their bridge. She's then going to try and push her armpits as close as she can to the block, as this is going to help when she tries to stand up for a forward walkover later on when she's learning it. Now we're going to focus on the second part of the forwards walkover. So what Maya is going to do, she's going to push up into her bridge. From there, you can grab their hips again. She's going to walk up the wall and try and stand up, finishing looking at her hands with her arms by her ears. Once she's confident at doing handstand into bridge and bridge walk up the wall, we're going to combine them and do them together. So Maya again is going to go into her handstand. She's going to walk up the wall. From there, she's going to push into her bridge, try and hold, push against the wall, and then stand up, finishing with her arms by her ears. Now she'll start to get a bit of an understanding of what a forward walkover will feel like on the wall. Now the gymnast is confident at doing it against the wall, we're going to move onto the floor from a step. So Maya's going to start with her arms by her ears. She's going to put one foot in front. She's going to squeeze her ears nice and tall. From there, you can support her leg and shoulder. She's going to kick the handstand onto her back. Again, trying to finish with her hips nice and high, ready for a bridge, and her chin slightly up. Once she's confident at that and doing it on her own, we're then going to do exactly the same thing, but instead of going onto our back, as we did on the wall, we're going to go kick the handstand and then into a bridge. So she's going to kick up into a nice handstand. You can grab the hips, and then she's going to go into her bridge. She's going to try one more on her own, and I'll just stand there and spot her. So again, she's going to start stretching up nice and smart, foot forwards, she's going to kick up, and you can just stand there just for their confidence and their safety. And then once she's confident at doing it onto a higher surface, we can then move on to the flat. I would recommend doing this on a mat first, just to keep it nice and safe. So again, she's going to kick the handstand into a bridge. And you hold their hips again, and get to try and hold the bridge at the end. Once the gymnast has done their handstand to bridge, we're going to start looking at the second part of the walkover. So first of all, Maya's just going to show you her perfect bridge. So she's going to push her armpits on top of her hands as much as possible, trying to keep her legs straight. The better bridge she has, the easier the forward walkover will be moving forwards. Next, we're going to get the gymnast to think about doing a bridge rock. This is going to help them think about when they're going into their bridge, pushing forwards, ready for their forwards walkover. So Maya's going to kick into her bridge. From there, she's going to rock, and then she's going to try and push her fingers off if she can. Some of the gymnasts won't be able to go this high to start, and from there, that'll be a lot easier when we move on to our forward walkovers. Once she's done that on the floor, we're then going to look at doing it onto a higher mat over here. So if Maya comes onto this one again, she's going to do exactly the same thing, but just with her hands on the mat with her feet on the floor. So she's going to go into her bridge again. She's going to do her rocks and try and push her fingers off the ground, ready to transfer her weight onto her feet. Once the gymnast can do the bridge rocks with their hands pushing off the floor, we're then going to move on to the next stage, which is going from 3 rocks onto their knees. So Maya's going to push into her bridge again. You can grab their hips for a little bit of help. She's going to go on 3. So 1, 2, and on 3, she's going to push onto her knees, ready for her forwards walkover. Once the gymnast is getting a little bit more confident at doing their bridge onto their knees, they can then start to think about standing up. To start off with, their knees might be quite close to the floor, but as they get more confident, their knees will get higher and higher to stand up eventually, look a little bit like this. She can do it with her legs apart this time. So she's going to go 3 rocks, 2, and then she's going to finish looking at her hands, covering her ears, And as she gets better and better at this, her legs are going to get closer and closer, ready for a forwards walkover. Once the gymnast has learned how to stand up from bridge, we're now going to add the handstand back in there. So Maya's going to kick to handstand. From here, we're going to do exactly the same as what we've done at the start. So she's going to kick into her bridge and then try and stand up. If they find that tricky, they can always use the wall to help them again, just to keep it nice and safe. Once the gymnast can do it against the wall and stand up, we can reintroduce the step back into it. When we first start learning the forward walkover, I'll do it to something lower, because then they can think about getting their feet under more and it'll be easier to stand up. So Maya's going to start in her lunge, kick to handstand, bridge, and try and stand up. Once this is easy, and they can do this around 3 times in a row, we then can go onto a thinner mat, and then eventually that can move onto the floor. So again, Maya's going to show you from handstand into bridge, stand up. Again, trying to finish looking at her hands. If she puts her head down, she's going to pike and fall backwards. So once she's finished the walkover, we want them to try and finish with their hips forwards, arms up by their ears, just to help them ready for when they do their forward walkover with one leg. Once the gymnast can do their handstand and bridge stand up with their feet together, we can then move on to the forward walkover. So it's going to be exactly the same, but instead of joining her legs at the top, she's going to keep her legs nice and wide. There's a couple ways of supporting this. So firstly, we can grab their hips. Again, we're going to start off a higher surface as it's a little bit easier. So she's going to kick to handstand and into a forward walkover. If that is easy, we can then look at trying to spot her a little bit more. So instead, we can do a belly and back, here, and up back. Again, she's trying to focus on trying to keep her arms by her ears, finishing with her foot in front now, as this makes her look a little bit smarter with one foot. Once she can do this on the higher mat, we'll again reduce the size of the mats, make them thinner and thinner, and eventually we can move it back onto the floor. And Maya's going to show you the full skill now, with her chin up at the start, keeping her legs nice and wide as we walk over, finishing again in that nice shape with her hips forwards and her chin up at the end. Once you've gone through all these stages, from learning a handstand into a bridge, and then a bridge to stand up, hopefully the gymnast will be able to do a forward walkover.